Good afternoon, everyone. 2024 October, we're heading right into a global liquefaction event, second magnetic field forming in the outer solar system. You're going to be looking for these signs: landslides, sinkholes, and earth cracks. Unusual runout, Mount Darwin, New Zealand, and a second strange runout, Mount Silberhorn, New Zealand. Norway landslides, California coastal highway, bye-bye. Sinkhole, Malaysia. Italy, one of the biggest sinkholes ever seen there. And Iran, sewing machine needle punctures across the desert. When these events become much more intense over the next few years, your pipelines, bridges, railroads, and roads are going to become unusable, along with the delivery of your food and energy supplies. The last time we had a Democrat-led Congress and president was during the first years of the Obama administration. Janet Yellen was the Fed chair then, and now soon to be the new Treasury Secretary under Biden. Obamacare was passed. President Obama and Congress sent billions to banks and Wall Street. That was the perfect recipe, and gold soared more than 200% from 2008 to 2011. Patriot Gold Group has the no-fee-for-life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no-fee-for-life IRA. So go ahead and give the folks at Patriot Gold Group a call to discuss physical gold and silver, and the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 5 years in a row from 2016 until present. Click the link in the description box below for more information. And now on with the video. A little more granular into this global liquefaction event that looks like it's going to be taking place in 2024. Second magnetic field, although slight, forming in the outer solar system. A second magnetic field in our solar system, in addition to the sun going into a low and a grand solar minimum. Earth sandwiched right there in the middle. We're going to be looking for the Earth to get tugged in sort of an ellipsoid fashion. This will affect the top mile of our crust, approximately. What you're going to be looking for: earth cracks, sinkholes, and unusual landslides. And here's what I would call a mud flood in front of you right here. They call it a rock avalanche, an outflow, a runout no less. Water mixed with rock off of a glacier flowing like a river. Mount Darwin, New Zealand. Experts do note the avalanche is an interesting case. A little bit closer in here so you can take a look at where it's starting right now in the mountains. But as this starts to occur in lower areas across the planet and more habitation, you know it's going to be affecting roads, bridges, pipelines, neighborhoods, cities. And it even picked it up on the Sentinel plan imagery off of NASA. This image is opposite of what you just seen. That flow is going north. Now, staying in New Zealand, what are the chances of a second landslide? Transitioning into a rock avalanche. That was rare to begin with in the first one, the outflow, and here we are, second, Mount Silberhorn, just a week in between each other. Now this time there were some helicopters up there taking imagery of it. We're going to zoom in here. It had the fan pattern, but then as the fan broke on the periphery edge, you could see where the outburst started to flow. And imagine if there were buildings or temples or monoliths under that, it would be buried in clay, mud, rock, probably a couple floors deep, and that would explain why there's a lot of buried ruins across our planet, and doorways knocked into the second floor of so many buildings across cities in every continent. Here's your answer: why? It's cyclical. It's coming back. You got 3 years or less. It's in the mountains now, but soon it'll be right on the flat plains and the lower elevation of anything to 1,000 feet. Example, Norway. This is a clay slide, a clay landslide. Now you can see the damage into the homes. And now these events are going to become much more frequent. What we're seeing, we're right at the cusp of the breakthrough magnetically, because Jupiter and Saturn did that crossover with the Great Conjunction back on December 21st, 2020. Now since that point, the magnetic coupling is really increasing, and it's going to get much stronger all the way until 2024. All these events I'm showing you have occurred in the last month. So you can see the uptick, and this is what you're going to be looking for. Because the more intense these events become, the more they're going to interfere with our infrastructure. And a few homes buried, that's a terrible thing. I wish those people the best to rebuild and get their insurance money so they can rebuild and get their belongings if they can. But even in our modern era, they're not going to be able to really dig that out to get into their homes to look for things. That's why there's so many buried buildings across our planet that were repurposed. Same thing, different era. And when I talk about washing away of infrastructure, here we go. Highway 1 collapsing. Now, it does have some breakthroughs occasionally, but this is a full collapse, and it's going to take them months to fix this. Now, it's already at the fracture point anyway, so how much fixing will do any good? That highway is unusable for the moment. Now multiply it by tens, hundreds, and thousands of freeways across the planet, and then you can see what kind of disruption there could be just to road traffic. Now, put some pipes under there that are delivering liquid fuels, and you have a serious problem. Over to Italy. Sinkhole here is one of the largest ever recorded in the country, 2,000 square meters, 21,000 square feet, this sinkhole size. And where did it open up? In a parking lot at the Naples Hospital. 60 feet deep in some places, and they're concerned that it's going to continue to erode and wash away. So structurally, that was sound when they built the parking lot. What's changed under there earth-wise? Trying to choose some of the examples that are outliers, that are so far out of the ordinary that you have to say this is something causing a difference in the magnitude and size of the event. Now here's one. Gigantic sinkhole the size of 40 Olympic swimming pools. The same thing. Gigantic, well beyond the norm, Malaysia. And as I zoom in there, down to the left, you will see a dump truck. You can get a gauge about the depth and periphery of it. Pretty big. Now I want to bring you to the shape of these next two areas here. This is E.S.T. And what they're starting to notice are these perfect circles, like was seen in Russia over the last few years. They had those perfect circles up in the tundra, and they couldn't explain how they were forming, why they were forming. Now we have this happening across the deserts in Iran. And look at this. It looks like a punch hole needle going through clothing, sewing through the desert, each one of those punch holes. Now, the excuse given was that the groundwater had been drained for agriculture, but I look in those first few holes and go, whoa, that's full of water. But the excuse was that it got so drained completely dry that it left cavities for all those sinkholes to form, yet I see water. Something's not making sense. Now, back over to Croatia. Remember, they had that 6.4 earthquake last month, one of the biggest in more than 100 years. And there was an enormous amount of sinkholes suddenly opening around the quake area. And again, you start to look at that same pretty symmetrical circle, and you go, well, yeah, big deal. That's one sinkhole. Keep this in perspective here. Everywhere you see a red dot is another one of those, if not even larger. When pipelines are running through these areas, our fuel supplies, water supplies are going to be affected. When this starts happening around bridge couplings and there's earth splits near a bridge foundation and a base, that bridge is going to be unusable. Electric lines underground, snapped. Roads, impassable. How about the rail lines where an enormous amount of goods travel around the continents? That'll be broken too. You can already see whoever knows about the cycles is planning for mass disruption in our daily lives and society due to these earth changes. They're on a cycle. This is what you're looking for into 2024. Eventually, you're going to see something so far out of the norm that you're going to go, whoa, that's it. That's the sign. Society has begun its final collapse. And the distraction at that point will ramp up like a 10x or something. So the more these earth changes are happening, the more the food production is being lost and the more distraction there is out there and the more control. So it's an equation of intensity ramp up in society effects and how much control is going to be exerted so you don't get too rowdy and you don't ask too many questions. And with these changes, how are you prepared for emergency food supplies? So many unknowns are happening by the day. It's speeding by with changes that we've never experienced before. Good to be prepared, have storable foods. The 2-week or the 4-week emergency food supply, My Patriot Supply, and DAP 2030, that link's in the description box below, along with all the links to tonight's stories, images, and Patriot Gold Group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.